Hey there everyone, welcome to the One Brain Four Wheels channel. It's the Gare Bear here like always, and today I'm finally giving you guys some content a few of you at least have been asking for, and that is talking about the 9th gen Cadillac Eldorado, and finally giving you guys a really good in-depth tour of it. Even though I've already owned it for over a year and a half now, I think it's time to finally dig in and really see why I love this vehicle so much, why this one is still in the garage or in the driveway and hasn't been sold off yet, and what I want to do with it and what I've done so far to it. You guys have seen little videos here and there, but I really just want to go in depth a little bit and show you guys the magical wonderfulness of the Cadillac Eldorado. So without further ado, let's get started. So like I said, this is the 9th generation Cadillac Eldorado, and these were made from 71 through 78. And there was a little bit of a refresh in between, I think around 75 or so. And one of the biggest things you can tell the difference is on mine, the later ones have the square rectangular headlights, where the earlier ones had circular headlights. But the overall body was, for that whole generation, they look mostly the same. Also, one difference is on the back of mine, I actually have the tail lights integrated into the fins, where on the earlier models, they actually have the tail lights located in these bottom strips, and then those little thin red pieces, those were actually just reflectors. But other than that, the body pretty much stayed the same for that whole time period. And I gotta say, definitely the best thing, the eye catcher, is how long this body is. So a lot of people that know me know that I love big vehicles, as you can tell from this and the Suburban, and I've had bigger, pretty much all my life I've had big SUVs, big American truck-based SUVs. And so one of the questions I get when people first realize I own this is they say, is that bigger than the Suburban? And I can tell you guys, I measured it, I did the science, and it is actually. It's like a foot longer than the Suburban. I think you can look it up on Wikipedia, the wheelbase length and this overall length, but I put them side to side, and this one, the fins stick out. That's what gives it the extra length. Now, after thinking about it a little further, I really gotta say, I think that, you know, modern day Suburbans and Escalades, those are pretty much just modern adaptations of what this was. And, you know, think about this for a minute, hear me out. They're obviously completely different vehicles as far as, you know, this is a two-door coupe, and those are big, monstrous SUVs, and they've got off, you know, they can four-wheel drive and stuff like that, go in the snow, whatever. This car, though, the Eldorado was pretty much just like a status symbol vehicle. It's always near the top of Cadillac's line. It was kind of marketed as like the luxury vehicle, but most importantly, a luxury vehicle that could comfortably seat 6 adults and still look great doing it. And that's honestly pretty astonishing, because a lot of cars can hold lots of people, but they're not necessarily luxury vehicles, and they don't necessarily look good doing so. And it's a fact like that that I think makes cars like this so special. The fact that, you know, it's a lot more utilitarian than people would think, and it's all put in a really nice package. I mean, just look at this car once again. I'm gonna say, you know, I can say all these other things that are positives about the vehicle, how it rides, how many people you can put in there, etc., etc. Not necessarily safe, but whatever. You know, in its time period, I'm sure it was A-okay. It has seatbelts, that's good enough. But the one thing that's always gonna draw your attention, it's gonna be the way it looks. I mean, you can tell instantly, obviously it's a big brick, essentially, a big brick of metal, but look at the lines that were sculpted in this thing. I mean, even when it's sitting still, you can tell those nice lines. Let's see, move it up like this, you guys see a little better. You can see that top line going across and how it nips in right there at the handle and then kind of pops back up. You know, this is great. It looks like a car that's moving even when it's still, and I know that sound, I think that's a little overplayed actually, for like sports cars and stuff like that. You know, oh, this, you know, this Corvette, it looks like it's moving so fast even when it's sitting still, blah, 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 blah. You know, everyone says that. But honestly, I'm not saying it looks like it goes fast, but it does have a sense of movement even when it's sitting there. Just, you can almost watch where the air would be cutting up against this brick of metal and kind of swooping around. And I think it's a really neat design. Definitely something that kind of piques my interest when I see vehicles like this. And I'm kind of curious, you know, the designer's point of view, you know, who came up with little things like this? And, you know, who sculpted, I love how, like, the back hatch back here, little things, how, like, it swoops in here, but then you have that, like, up, kind of coming up. It almost reminds me of, like, a rumble seat thing in, like, really old cars. Obviously, I love, you know, this stuff like that is just great. You know, that's classic Americana right there, having the little flip-up key hider mechanism thing. And I'll open the trunk a little bit. You can see all the dead hookers you can put in there. But honestly, yeah, just kind of wrapping up the way it looks on the outside. I mean, like, you don't have cars like this nowadays that have solid metal bumpers, chromed out. Look at all the chrome. Chrome. Don't mind my shitty paint, though. Chrome. You got chrome hubcaps, you got chrome handles, you got chrome door edgy things, you got chrome molding, you've got more chrome molding. holding up your fake leather roof thing. You've got chrome on the top of the hood. You've got a chrome ornament. More chrome, a shit ton of chrome. There's so much chrome on this car. It's so shiny, it's so gaudy. It is so 60s and 70s Cadillac American, and I absolutely love it for that reason. But yeah, honestly, I think my favorite part about how the exterior of the Cadillac Eldorado looks really is just how the fact that it's so massive and dated and gaudy, and it just draws everyone's attention, but in a positive way. You know, I just took my family, my grandma loves this vehicle. She had like a 90s Cadillac, but nothing like this, but she remembers things like this back in the day. And we were driving her around town, and just leaving my neighborhood, I got a couple thumbs up. And then we went and got some gas before coming back home later in the day, and a guy came up and was just telling me how much he loved this vehicle. And he was a younger guy, so it's not just old people that like these cars. Everyone, I think, can gravitate and understand, you know, how cool something like this is, especially the fact that it's still running on the road, which I will also say, these are very robust. They have a nice solid iron engine in the front, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that in a minute. But yeah, honestly, just the reactions that a car like this gets, always positive. People love it. Well, maybe not in like Berkeley or something where people care about emissions and fossil fuel consumption, because this is not good at that. Well, actually, it's very good at that. It's not good at conserving. But definitely, I just love how I get positive reactions pretty much everywhere I go with this vehicle. And so if that was a feature for the vehicle itself, that would definitely be one of my favorite ones. Moving around to the front of the vehicle, let's go ahead and take a look at that big, massive 425 cubic inch 7-liter engine. We're going to go ahead and lift up this big, massive hood. It says Eldorado nicely written down there, and you've got a nice little Cadillac logo, which, by the way, they kind of did this so that way you don't have to worry about people trying to steal your emblem. Very neat idea. Let's see if I can lift this one-handed. It's quite heavy. Let's see. Oh my god, this is really heavy. Dun, da, da, da. So you guys have seen this before if you've watched any of my other videos as far as changing the belts, and I'm sure I did a couple other videos in the engine compartment a little bit. But yeah, you guys can see that massive engine in here, and it was pretty solid when we bought it. You know, it did break down at like 2 days after owning it, and my dad helped me replace the radiator hoses, and then later on I replaced the belts, and I did a little tune-up on it, so we changed out the oil, the spark plugs. I also had an exhaust leak that I actually almost forgot about, and my dad actually fixed that. I had to be out of town on work for about a month at one point last year, and so he actually had this car down at his house, and he went ahead and redid, he sealed up for the headers, essentially, to kind of get that all sealed up so it wouldn't have that annoying sound. It was really loud. But yeah, he went ahead and fixed that up, and he went ahead and shot this all with a nice coat of Cadillac blue paint. But other than that, everything looks pretty good. I'm also have tried to adjust the carburetor a little bit to get it running a little better, and it's worked. But that's also something I kind of want to cover later on as far as things I want to do in the future. I was kind of thinking perhaps ditching the carburetor and switching to an MSD fuel injection system. So you guys can write in the comments below if you guys think that's a good idea or not. I know some people are purists and they like the idea of keeping the carburetor, and some people say you can actually you know, work a carburetor pretty well and really, you know, tune it up to be really nice and run solid, which I'm sure if it was fine when the car was new, then it should be fine now. But honestly, I was just kind of thinking it'd be fun to do something a little bit different. You know, because I don't think I've seen a lot of those kits being run on this generation Eldorado. So, you know, you know me, I like to do little projects, things that keep me busy, and so that would be kind of fun. However, that kit does cost about $1,000, a little bit more actually, and it involves dropping the gas tank, and that's just not something I really want to do right now. I definitely want to focus a lot on the exterior of the vehicle and the interior, mostly aesthetic things, because the engine and everything, all the mechanicals are running really good right now, knock on wood, fingers crossed. And so, you know, I kind of just want to focus on something else. It's a little bit different, a little bit more fun working on aesthetics. Like I said, the paint job needs to be redone. The interior, mustard yellow, that's gotta go. I think we're gonna do a red and white theme. But you guys can kind of maybe shoot down below what you guys think would be a cool color on this car. I just feel like that classic Cadillac white looks really good into a large body like this. But yeah, other than that, kind of getting back to the engine, very happy with how everything's been running so far, and I think you guys actually, you should be treated by hearing what it sounds like. Let's go ahead and start her up. All right, on 3, 2, 1. Awesome, sounds great. Kind of come around to the front a little bit. And you guys can see that massive 7-liter engine at work. honestly, it runs really great, guys. Like, considering how old this engine is, and I haven't done that much maintenance, it's a little tune-up, and I'm pretty sure that the people that owned it before me didn't do a whole lot of work on it. It's pretty amazing that this solid vehicle is just running so great, and the fact that it is just such a solid engine. And that's the AC kicking on. Still works, by the way, now that we fixed it. Awesome, awesome engine. And of course, no review of an old Cadillac would be complete without talking about the massive trunk. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open this one up. Like I said earlier, kind of flip that up, put your key in, and you can also release this via button inside the glove compartment in the cabin. Go ahead and turn it, and it pops open. And there you have it, lots of plentiful space for your golf bags, groceries, dead hookers, whatever you're into, the Cadillac's got you covered. But yeah, you guys can see it's got the spare tire, and behind it you can see all the stuff to change the tire. It has the old style jacks that kind of click into your bumper here. You can see the kind of the mounting point there. You can actually lift up with these bumpers since they are metal and attached to the frame. But yeah, you can see there's lots of space in here. I'm not going to get in there because I'm not a dead hooker. And also I don't want to get locked in. But you can see I've actually got this big box here, I think. Oh yeah, I've got a whole bunch. It's not Hawaiian Punch. A lot of coolant from back when I was really nervous when I first bought the vehicle. We put that in there because I was worried that I might get another leak, and I need to get some fluid in there just to keep it cool while I get to a service station or something like that. And I don't need that in there anymore. It's still there. But yeah, lots of space for whatever you need to put in the back of your Cadillac. And then when you're done with the trunk and you're done noticing the really horrible paint job the previous owners did, you go ahead and nicely close your trunk, and the auto close will very classily close it for you. Just don't mind that massive noise it makes when it does it. But honestly, I make fun, but it is actually a pretty nice feature, although, you know, modern auto close trunks and things like that are way quieter and way better. But that's not bad considering this vehicle's, what, like 40 years old-ish? A little more. And that really highlights another point of this car to me, which is that you can respect it, you can love it, but you still have to be able to laugh at it, because looking through the modern eyeglass and viewing this thing, it's pretty laughable to think that this was something that was mainstream back in the day. It's just so big, it's so over the top, you know, it's got all these random little features and stuff like that. It's just so, it's so American. I think like this car screams to me what I feel like other people view Americans as. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's funny. It's so just extra. So moving along to the inside of the Cadillac Eldorado, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but it is a little yellow in here. Definitely not my color choice, but nonetheless, it looks very period correct. And you guys can see it just has this massive dashboard in the center, and that's like your focal point. I do like how the top of the dash, they have your fuel level indicator over there, and they have this whole massive row of indicator lights. Kind of reading up on this when I first bought the car, they were trying to go for like kind of like a space age theme. And now that if you kind of look at it, the way it's just so like massively like kind of curves around, it looks like something you'd see like on the Star Trek Enterprise or something. Definitely, you can tell they were trying to go for kind of a futuristic look for the period. Which I think it just has a very cool, it's dated, but it looks cool. And that's, you know, when you're buying this car, you know you're not buying and getting into something that's new. So you kind of want the character of that older time period, you know, whatever. And so you're getting that in this car. Obviously you got to have those fuzzy dice. I mean, that's the look. You got to have it. So I got those. It's got a cool 8-track tape player and radio. I've got in the glove box here, you know, some Johnny Cash, some classic there. I did do a video, I think, oh god, probably about a year ago. I had to change the light bulb that was in the radio, and that was a pain in the butt. You have to drop it below. Go ahead and link up here if you guys want to see how to do that. But other than that, I haven't done too much. Oh, I did fix the horns in this guy, which are pretty cool. I can kind of go like this, go. That's pretty cool, right? Gotta have it. Sounds like a freaking train horn, to be honest. It's very loud. This is the 2-note horn. If you had, I think like the Barrett's, those ones came with the, I don't know how many notes it is, but they sound even cooler and louder. But I'm very happy with this one because it's way better than the little wimpy horns that come in the Fiero. Sorry, Fiero. Poor little girl. But yeah, definitely very cool interior, and you just got these massive doors in this car. It helps to get into the back seats, having that extra length that it is a coupe. But they are so heavy and solid. When you close it, you get that nice thunk. and there's lots of metal work everywhere. I mean, when you gaze across the interior of this vehicle, you just constantly see shiny metal everywhere. It's across the dash, across the doors. It's so plentiful, and I'm sure it made the interior of this thing look really elegant and luxurious in the time period. But it is just so much shiny chrome, plastic chrome everywhere. It's almost breathtaking just how much of it is in here. And as far as some other noteworthy features, it does have cruise control, which is pretty nice considering it's 40 years old. It has a really good AC system, which is actually kind of like an automatic system as far as you can set the temperature you want, and then it'll go ahead and maintain that for you. And it works pretty good now that the AC compressor works well. You've got your washer wipers up here in this kind of like weird like L-shaped design, which is interesting. Mine has the automatic sentinel lights, which pretty much up here in the speaker grill, it has a little light sensor and it actually turns on and off the headlights for you. And even some of the nicer models had auto dimming high beams, which is pretty advanced given the time that these cars were made. So that's pretty cool. But now I got to get to my favorite feature, which is just how roomy this interior is. Yes, I've teleported into the back seat, and I have to say, I'm not sure if I'd put 6 people in this vehicle, but 4 people seat very comfortably. So I have those front seats moved all the way back for my kind of seating pleasure up there. And if you come back here, you know, I'm about 6'3", 6'4", and yeah, it's a little tight back here, but if there's only, 4 people in total, 2 in each row, you can kind of fan your legs out. Yeah, it's not the best, but honestly, it's not bad. All right, so maybe I am kind of looking at it through rose-colored glasses, but hey, you can at least stretch out back here and, do whatever you got to do in the back seat of your big old car. But definitely, it's very comfortable to be back here. Everything is so plush, and obviously this is like a vinyl material. They weren't putting leather in these guys. But it's soft enough, and the padding is just great. I mean, look down here on the seat cushion. This isn't even the Barrettes, which the Barrettes had. Those are the ones that had it looked like a pillow was sewn on top of the leather seat. So it's like 2 layers of cushion. This one doesn't have that. But even so, it's just so nice. I can actually, I said, guys, I'm about 6'3" and a half, 6'4", kind of depending on who's measuring me. And I can stretch across this whole back seat pretty nicely. And honestly, like right now, I could take a nap, and it's very comfortable. Someone could chauffeur me. This is like an old school Rolls Royce, okay? This is American country Rolls Royce. You got, Billy Bob driving in the front seat. You got me chilling back here in the back of the coupe. And, we can go down some country roads. This thing drives so nice on bumps because you're essentially, this is like old school wobbly suspension. You're not feeling anything, except for when you go around a corner, you're going to slide across the seat on your pleather here. But honestly, it's so comfortable back here. Maybe get me some a window shade for that back window. It's tinted right now, but I can imagine if that wasn't tinted, that would let in way too much heat. And this would feel like an oven probably back here, because it is a little weird. I've never owned a coupe before, and not having a door back here, that is a little weird, kind of being locked in. However, if you were getting ready to exit, on the passenger side only, if you were a kid, you can go ahead and pop the seat forward. I don't know how to do that one. Oh, you gotta unlock it down here, pop that seat forward, and then you got this nice little handle right here. You can pull that, and if the door was actually unlocked, you can pull it and open and release yourself, and then kind of close it back up, and get back and drive on your merry way. And that's the tour of the back seat of the Eldorado. Now hold on one second though, before we leave the interior, I have one more feature to show you guys. My mama always said when you invite someone into your home, or in this case your car, it's rude not to offer a refreshment or a snack or something like that. So would you guys like to have a drink? Let's go ahead and come over here to our last feature. And that is, what's this up here? Let's see, off, on, let's switch it to on. And what are these little buttons doing here? Well, let's go ahead and give that a shot. Let's try this one. Holy shit. It's a fucking drink dispenser. That's right, boys and girls. My Cadillac Eldorado is fitted with a drink dispenser. Not one, actually, but 2. If you come with me up front, you'll actually see in front of the radiator, there are 2 windshield washer tanks. The only thing is, those are not actually for window washing fluid. So my dad actually said that back in the day, he had heard of people doing this back when he was a kid, which, by the way, disclaimer, very, very illegal. Not to have this, but to do what I'm about to tell you. Very illegal. Don't do it. Drinking and driving, not funny. Yeah, it's not cool. But the fact that it has it just for comical purposes is neat, but don't actually ever use it. But what people would actually do, apparently, is they would fill those front tanks with some alcohol, whatever their preference, some vodka, some bourbon, some whatever. And then when they're driving down the road, if they have a little glass sitting there in the glove box or something, go ahead and get a little sip of that and be on your way. You don't really have this big bottle of, alcohol. And let's say you do handle your alcohol okay, but you get pulled over for some other reason. You're not going to see a big bottle of open alcohol somewhere. They'll probably smell on your breath. But, that was also in a different time period. So, the alcohol laws, still no drinking and driving, but, people could probably have some alcohol in their breath, get pulled over, and not go to jail back then. And so in this case, there's a little bit of insurance, not having an open container, but you could, if you're going on a long journey with a lady friend or something like that, and you want a little sip of something, that was an easy way to accomplish that, I guess. And of course, we can't finish this review off without going for a little drive. And honestly, every single time I actually have a moment to drive this vehicle, which isn't very often, it's always a treat. It's just so fun. I mean, for example, just the lightweight power steering on this thing. It's crazy how you can maneuver such a large vehicle with such ease. It's just so much fun. And it's not fun the same way that like the Corvette is as far as like speed and the handling. That's a whole different dynamic. This one is fun because you know what you're driving and it's ridiculous. And it's awesome to be in a little time capsule like this. I mean, it's so crazy when you look at this, like, man, this is still on the road. Honestly, yeah, it's fun in a completely its own way. Yeah, so getting this thing out here on the road, now you can kind of see we're going up a hill. It doesn't have a lot of horsepower. This was made, this is a huge engine, but it was made right at the beginning. I think 1975 was when they started mandating catalytic converters on vehicles, at least here in California. Let's not hit that biker and he'll become a hood ornament. Okay, back on track. But yeah, this was right back at the time where vehicle emissions was really becoming a big center point in kind of the manufacturing process and regulations and things like that. And so for that reason, the engine doesn't have a whole lot of power, even though it's very big and uses a very large amount of fuel. We're going about 45 right now and going up a little bit of a grade. Let's go ahead and do a full pedal to the floor. A little bit of delay with that carburetor. And we're increasing, but not that great. But this is a very big car. It's very heavy, so respectable, I guess. Time period, think about that. You got everything kind of be in perspective. One problem with that is you can almost watch that fuel tank level move on you. This thing just sucks down the gasoline, not surprisingly. But that's definitely, it's got a 27-gallon tank and it'll drink it pretty damn quick. But yeah, I remember when Doug DeMuro actually did a review on a 1977 Cadillac Eldorado. I believe his was a Baritz. And he really nailed it on the head as far as talking about how the suspension, a lot of people say cars are floaty, it feels like driving a boat. And I agree with him that is really overused a lot, especially in car reviews. But this is the type of vehicle that actually earns that designation and that description of how it feels when you're driving it. And it's not a bad thing because, once again, this isn't like a car that's focused on handling. This is a car that's focused on being comfortable. And it succeeds in doing that partly and because it has such a soft suspension that gives in corners and things like that. But yeah, just driving this thing down the road, it feels awesome. I'm gonna keep saying that because that's like the best way. It feels awesome. It feels great. My back feels wonderful in these nice soft seats, and just the way you don't feel any bounce on these backcountry roads. It's a pleasure being in this thing. And as far as like other qualities of a luxury car compared to like a modern vehicle, yeah, it's a little noisy in here. You definitely hear the engine going when you're driving. You kind of hear wind noise because everything, nothing is aerodynamically designed, so you're getting a lot of wind noise, especially on the corners of the vehicle. It really picks up on the air depending on how fast you're driving. That makes sense. Although I think the seals on this vehicle are actually okay. I'm not getting you can hear the difference between noise through like the metal and like having an actual like hole or void in your seals, and it seems like this is probably as good as it was back in the day. But yeah, overall, just the interior kind of environment that you're in, yeah, it's dated, but it feels as expected, and it's just comfortable to be in. Obviously, you wouldn't be driving this thing in the commute if you're a normal person. Don't look at me. Like I said, I rarely get time to drive this vehicle. But definitely, It brakes slowly, it's a lot of weight, and the brakes aren't that great. Although I think in these, they're all disc brakes, no drum brakes in this. But still, it's just kind of maneuvering around parking lots, things like that. It's big, it's hard to see, kind of looking out the back there. Can you guys even see, you know, where your fins end? No, and if you can't see it, you're closer to the window than I am up here. So that's kind of an issue. But, you know, besides that, I'm happy with this car. You just have to drive it knowing what it is. And I think that I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this really long overdue kind of overview of my 1977 Cadillac Eldorado and its little quirks and features, as Doug DeMuro would say. But yeah, it's definitely, like I said, been long overdue. It's been about 1.5 years since I bought it. I did a couple how-to videos on certain things. I did one intro video, but I really didn't do you guys justice kind of introducing this car properly. So I hope it's going to be long video, really kind of makes up for that and kind of covers all the topics that I think are worthy of covering. And as far as the Cadillac for now, I'm just going to enjoy it the way it is. You know, a car like this is always going to be a constant project. There's always going to be something that breaks or something you want to change. I also forgot to mention, we actually fixed, for example, the power antenna. I should say my dad fixed it. Thank you, Dad. And already we're having some issues. The antenna works fine, but now the thing that, you know, kind of automates it, the relay for when you have the radio on and off and makes it do it automatically, that's kind of on the fritz. So we got to fix that, for example. I've got small little projects I need to take care of with this vehicle. And, you know, from afar anyways, which is important to me, it looks good. So I can drive this on the road and not feel like, you know, I'm driving some hoopty down the road or something like that. It looks fine from a distance. And so I'm just going to keep enjoying it the way it is. And kind of, as I live with it a little longer, I can kind of figure out some of the more specific things I want to change. Like, for example, I'm kind of thinking I want the white paint on the outside, the red on the inside. But as I live with it, I might make changes to that plan. You know, same thing with the fuel injection. I might make changes to that. I'm not really sure. So as I live with it, you know, just kind of, everything's going to be fluid. I won't do things on a preset plan. Just enjoy it in the moment, and if I see things that just irk me as I live with it, then I'll change them. But up until this point, I'm pretty happy with the way it is, so I'm going to leave it like that. But I do have a plan brewing, so things will change, but don't expect this project to be a fast one. But anyhow, I think this is a good part in the video to kind of wrap things up. So if you want to see more videos of me talking about things such as the 1977 Cadillac Eldorado, or I might eventually get working on the 88 2M4 Fiero, maybe, we'll see. Or if you want to see more videos on the Corvette, the Fiero GT, or the Suburban, please subscribe to the channel, One Brain, Four Wheels. And until next time, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And really, just have a great day and stay tuned for the next fun video.